been in spaces where bitch niggas don't like me, but they just sit and smile, wouldn't dare think to fight me. Maybe cause they know I'm better and all of they women like me. I pop in that little shit and honestly
don't wait. You are now.
Granddaddy knew his first business dime was painted by Muhammad Ali's daddy.
Tell that boy to cut it out, the chin to it. Your chance to resemble you with your bitch. You been through it, I went through it. That in every bad situation, I would hate on me too if I had your reputation. Watching my every move, probably living in the basement. Niggas know I'm from the city, but they'll never be adjacent.
Talk about something, bro.
You either with me or against me, nigga. I'm not really here for the back and forth, the forth and back, the constantly push your left and right, switch sides and shit, but just know I'm not really here for all the talking, bitch. Let me hold some coochie till I get on my feet. Don't gotta be in the street, just keep it discreet, and you can get pinned to the sheets. You ain't even gotta do all the shopping around, little baby, just bring it in. This not a riddle. Diamonds got colors like bags of the Skittle. My bag is a little. He thought he was hard, but he mad cause he brittle. I'm up at the top and you mad in the middle. Yeah. That's because I'm the realest nigga of all.
All right, y'all. We back with another one. ODD, POD, MARC.
RASHID. You already know. Pod Rashid.
And IVRY, of course.
Yes.
We genuinely excited to sit down with our guy. He's a Louisville native who packed up, headed west to California, and sounds like he's been on a mission ever since. If I calculated it correctly, we're talking 7 projects, over 90 songs since 2018. My man can flow. Feels like his flow could go on forever at times. Bars that'll hit you in the gut 1 second and make you think about life the next. He's not just a rapper, though. He's a creative in every sense of the word, from the booth to the vlog. He gives you the full picture. If you're not already locked in, go find him right now. He's on the gram and YouTube at 200 _. And then come back and thank us later. So, Louisville, put some respect on this name. Welcome to the OddPod.
No, I appreciate y'all, man. That was a healthy intro, for real.
Hey,
Marcus be rolling out the red carpet as
that's what we
as
right
Rick says.
as Rick says, as Cash Rick says. So, no, for real, man. Deservedly so, man. We see what he's doing from afar. Nice to get up and close and personal. I'm sure there's other people who see his artistry and probably have questions as well. So hopefully we can answer some questions and have a great conversation as we always do, man. So just starting from the beginning, take us back to Louisville. What part of the city did you grow up in?
I guess when it comes to that, I've really, for the most part, lived just about everywhere but the East End, and everywhere
Okay.
like plays a really big part in my, my upbringing. But I think for the most part, it's kind of hard because I guess I separated into two separate, to two separate like places. Like, so I'll consider I grew up in South Louisville. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think a lot of things that kind of molded me started there, and then also I had lived by Algonquin, right behind Algonquin Park on the street called Narragansett. You know what I mean? And when I lived there, that was when I was kind of catapulted into adulthood. That was around the time where I think the idea of music became real to me. Making music became real to me when I was a kid. I told my grandmother used to sing to me that song that you could be, whatever you wanted to be type shit. So one day somebody asked me what I wanted to be, and I said I wanted to be a rapper. And then somebody told me it was these are my granny's friends too. So, they came up, 70s, you know what I mean? We live in
Right.
Louisville, Kentucky. We don't have no, major music, anything. So they was just kind of you should pick something more realistic. So as a kid it just never dawned on me that rap was actually a job. People actually had, jobs in music and could do anything like that. Like I said, my mama kicked me out around that time. I was really warming up to the idea of making music. Chief Keef was hot. That was kind of what catapulted me, you know what I mean, into everything, when it comes to music editing and video editing and, all of it just was a big melting pot. And I think from that point forward was when I started to actually use the tools that was in my toolbox to kind of become, what I am today.
That's crazy. So the other side of Algonquin.
Yeah.
I was about to say, because my peoples grew up off Wingfield. I'm sure, because I was right around the corner type shit when I was
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah.
Real quick, you said you started telling people like, "Hey, I wanna rap," or whatever.
Mhm.
I feel like around Louisville, that happens a lot. I don't know if it's a question or if you can speak on kinda, is it scary to, like, say that? You know what I mean? Like, people
Yeah,
gon'
like what's the reception?
like, "Hey, I wanna rap."
I kinda think it whenever you say you wanna do anything artistically, it's always kinda like, I guess, a little nerve-wracking, you know what I mean, kinda filled with, like, jitters. I don't know, me personally, I've kinda gotten to the point where I mean, especially like I said, I make music, right? So you gotta expect everybody you tell that you expect them to expect that you suck. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I just kind of let it come up a conversation. When it comes up a conversation, then people are pretty shocked and be like, "Damn, why didn't you tell me this whole time?" Like, you know what I mean? I think now where I'm at in my craft, I'm a lot more confident in being able to, say it and,
Right.
be it. And all the other stuff kind of doesn't bother me as much as it used to. Yeah, I always just kind of let it just naturally just come about. I never tell people like right off the rip that I make music. 9 out of 10 when they see me on the internet, they'll figure that part out. I'm still kind of slow to, just jump out and just be like, yeah, I make music.
Do you get you don't look like a rapper. Do you get that?
Yeah, I get that a whole bunch. A lot of people think I make beats. I mean, well, I've been I mean I do. I've been getting better at it. But for the most part, just because when a lot of people meet me, they just like, damn, I'm real chill. I'm real laid back. But even though I've been a rapper, um, I'm supposed to be in the forefront of everything. I'm supposed to kind of just like jump out and be the face of it all. I've always garnered so much attention in my life, just naturally. I've never been the one to kind of just like, jump and run to it, crave it as much as other people. So when people see me just kind of like chill in the back, it's just like, they would think I'm either producer or I'm a singer. You know what I mean? Because I don't
Yeah.
There you
because I'm
go.
not as flashy as, other rappers, you know what I'm saying? Especially that make the kind of music, that I make, with
Right.
it being, because for the most part, I feel like when you look at my music as a whole, you see that I put entertainment first. And I always try to figure ways that I could tell my story or tell something that is personal to me in a way that like, is entertaining and that like everybody can kind of gravitate to versus just niche like pockets of sound.
Right.
For the most part, that's why when you listen to my music, it hits a lot of different the range is pretty big. It hits a lot of different ranges, hit a lot of different pockets. It can grab a lot of different people versus it just being, a specific sound, a specific niche.
Right.
And that's probably why your sound's always bouncy too, to a certain extent. Like no matter like I feel like you can always like bounce to your shit. Like no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I literally always go for. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm a big melody person. I think when I see music as a spectrum. So on one side is lyrics and the other side is melody. And I think somewhere in
Right.
between there is where we all fall. Some people fall, some people, 60 lyrics, 40 melody. Some people, 40, some people the opposite. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Sometimes it
Yep.
don't matter what you're saying as long as it sounds good. And sometimes, and for me, at least I lean more melody focused.
Right.
When it comes to, I think just music as a whole and like, where I pull from, around the time that I got kicked out and I said like, okay, this is what I really wanted to do. I studied a lot of different music and I studied a lot of different great people as a whole, just like, whether it was they did music, they play sports, whatever it was they did. And then I started studying music as a whole and, different genres and then raps and what made this rapper better than this rapper. And one thing that I found was it was never about what was said. It was always about how what was said made you feel. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Um, just keeping bouncing melody and, just those entertainment focuses, like at the forefront is, really what I pride myself on mostly, you know what I mean, in my music, you know.
No, I can see that. I can see that. Think. Now back home, of course we gotta ask this question. You gotta ask it every
You
time. That's
already
why you
know.
grinning. What high school you rep? What high school you go to? That's the only thing a Louisville nigga care about.
Man, I ain't gonna lie, man, I went to PRP.
Shout
Yeah.
out the Panthers.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, man. PRP I think that's one of the best high school experiences you could ever get because it's just so much. It's so much of everything. Like
Mm.
like I wouldn't have I wouldn't have traded it for the world. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we had gang fights, you know what I'm saying? It was so much, like, you know what I'm saying? It was white people, it was white, it was,
Right. That's a
like white country people, niggas, doing different shit. Then you got the, the upper class, and then you got like, the
right.
niggas from like, from every hood too. Like, you know what I mean? It
Mhm.
was, every day it was, you never really knew what you was gonna get into. That's what made that experience, the best for me too, because it was like, I think it helped me on to go on in life to be able just to resonate with so many different people, talk to so many different people, to be able to just connect with them. Like, it was really diverse. A lot of people
Mm.
get a lot of opportunities to bump heads with a lot of different people. And even though like it's high school, we all, got our little ups and downs. For the most part, like, I fit in with everybody, no matter where I was.
Underrated with the diversity or the experience too, because my cousin feels the same way, and he came out 6 years after you. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? He feels the same way about his experience. So I'm like, cool. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, like I said, we went to Manual, we went to Ballard. I think that's one thing was we all have in common is that we all had a diverse experience for
Yeah,
sure.
no, for sure. Sure.
And that does help you in things like that. Like I'm good in every hood. Like I can move. I'm a social chameleon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like those things like that, and like those are things that formulate into helping you become a good artist, dealing with people, or just whatever down the road type shit, or just connections too.
Yeah.
So now, like, were coming up, were you like the creative kid in the family? Were you sports? You know how we are. We, coming up from Louisville, it's like basketball, the streets for the most part. But it's
Not
sport, not
really.
not basketball, but sports, or like,
Yeah.
me and Rashad play football. It's like that, or it's like, it's just not too many alternatives. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, were you always creative, or were you focused on
Um,
something else early? Were you a nerdy kid? Were you in the you know what I mean? What was your
yeah.
thing?
It's kind of hard to say. So it's like I was creative, but I was creative in pockets. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, most of, my creativity came from, I guess, just kind of like being bored, trying to figure out something to do. Um, I used to download like Lime. I used to get on LimeWire, and
Yes, sir.
I used to download like Boondocks episodes when we didn't have you know what I'm saying? It's like when we didn't have internet no more, and I couldn't search the internet, I would take the music that I download, I'll take like Lil Wayne songs, and I would take those Boondocks episodes, put it in the like movie maker, and I would take the sound from the Boondocks episodes and just like delete it, and then like make music videos out of it. So it's like, Huey and Riley having like these conversations, they conversation where, because Riley, he moves his hands a lot too. So it's like, I got this Lil Wayne lyric on it. He look like he's rapping, and then like,
Mm.
I cut the scenes of like the Christmas episode where he's running Santa Claus down in the mall shooting BB guns at him. You know what I'm saying? Like I would do that type stuff, or, I'd be in the house all day, and I did have internet, and I'm just kind of like, you know, editing pictures, and, doing this, doing that, and the third.
Mm, okay.
I always loved music, so music and rapping just had always been something like, that I kind of kept, inside. I remember one time I wrote a rap for my little sister to go tell her friends at school. One of my little sisters, I got 8 brothers and sisters, but my little sister Dejan, I wrote a rap for her to go tell the people at her school once. And then like when I grew up, I want to say like around middle school, I think, but by freshman year of high school, saying around that time, like I started dancing. So, and back then that's when all the niggas, and you know what I'm saying, that's when hood niggas literally used to
Right.
go to the teen parties on weekends just to to dance. I lived in Park Hill for a while, so like, what I'm saying, the Wild City niggas and all them, I was hanging out with one of their little brothers, you know what I'm saying, and we would go to, these parties, and, we would dance, and motherfuckers kind of knew me for dancing too. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at it like that, like, and you kind of bundle it all together, like I
Yeah,
was creative. Any
yeah.
way that I could find to express myself, I would. But it was never something that was just like, like create. I never really consider myself creative and anybody that, did art, what I'm saying, anything like that, because, in my mind, like those wasn't jobs. That wasn't something, what I'm saying. I'm just a kid trying to have
Right.
fun.
Was you like,
You
was you one of the party starter, like crunk dancing type? Was you one of the
Yeah,
pop
you know what I'm saying?
blockers? Was you
Not
one of the
or
was
was
you
you
one of,
cranking
you
it,
feel me?
you
Was you
know?
cranking? Was you cranking? Was you, you feel me?
I mean, I knew every crank that. Not gonna hold you. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Nah,
Hey, there you
everybody
go.
need
I
You
knew,
go.
I knew everyone. You know what I'm saying? The my Dougie joint. So you know that one dance in Louisville, like, and it's not like no bullshit. You know that one dance where niggas used to do the little, you know what I'm saying, back and forth. You know what I mean? I forgot what it was. Well, it never really had a name. Um,
Not the shiz, is it?
it was like not it wasn't a shiz, but it was that little bop niggas do, like, you know what I'm saying, where they used to,
Yeah,
you
I
know what
know
I
what you.
mean?
I
Yep,
think
Like,
I know what
yep,
you.
yep.
yeah,
I already know
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
so it's this nigga named Don. He's like he was, you know, he danced in Wild City. His little and he him and all them, they was like doing a dance or whatever, and they taught it to us because we was more so going to the team parties. You know what I'm saying? So Don's little brother Will was one of the niggas I danced with. Was me, Will, and my homie Damon. And we was and they had taught us that dance, and we literally had went to the parties and did like it was like a routine, and we did that, and we did it so many
Mm,
times. I literally remember one time DJ Lil Carl was like, he
yeah,
put us
there
up
we
on
go.
stage, and he was like, "Man, this is the hardest dance of the year," and it was only January. It was like the first party of the year because we had been doing it the previous year so much, and you know, so the first party of the year, I think it was Club 26. You know what I'm saying, right there on
Okay.
Broadway,
Yep.
over by 18. So
Yep.
you know, we was, you know, say we was there doing that dance, and it kind of caught on, but nobody could really do it the way we was doing it. So there's just on just people just did the like, you know, just turned their whole body, and then
Yeah. Right.
you know, and it transformed into that. We was definitely crumpled. We had some routines, you know what I'm saying, the Dougie, you know what I mean? Anything that, you know, anything that we could do, we was definitely doing it. We was known for it. And at one point in time, like, you know, I thought dancing was something that like I really wanted to do, or something that I really could have seen myself doing forever, just because it was like young, impressionable mind. Like I see older niggas, you know what I'm saying? They, you know, I see older dancing, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I know like in music videos and shit, they got, you know, people dancing. I'm like, maybe I could be a choreographer or whatever, whatever.
Right.
Any form of dance that I could do, you know what I'm saying? That's what I was doing. One time my mama tried to put me in this like this dance thing where they did like competitions and shit like that. But it was mostly girls, and they had to like go back and tweak some of the dances for me to do because I wasn't about to do the, you know what I'm saying, overly girly shit that they was doing.
Yeah.
And
I
it
was
just
about to
got to a
say
point where I'm like, yeah, my mind about to keep. Like, cause it was
they
like they would
they.
try to find something for me to do, and it still wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
You wasn't
still, I'm
feeling it.
like,
Hey,
yeah,
bro. I
it's
ain't
like,
shaking
yeah, but
ass.
that's still too close to what you got them doing,
Right.
and I
I ain't
ain't feeling
shaking
it.
ass, nigga.
You feel me? So, you know, so, but yeah,
Uh,
it's
That's
about every
crazy.
part of dance I can get into. I was in it.
That's dope.
That's dope, for
That
real.
is like that is. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we all knew all the crank that, like, every
Oh
day there
my.
was a new crank that, like, and I'll be at the computer just looking like, "Okay, can I do this?" Like, Imma teach
Hey,
myself though.
Superman, Batman, but then Heisman on that whole.
Lion King, motherfucking
Oh,
Ivory.
Forrest
hey.
Gump.
You feel me? Gank.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Right. Crank That Yank was a
dang, that
tough
yank
song
was tough.
too. That was
And
a
oh
good
God,
song,
oh God.
for real.
That's crazy. They don't know about
Uh,
that.
something else you mentioned doing that, you was ripping, stuff from LimeWire, mixing raps with,
With
like,
cheap
shows and stuff.
show,
So
yeah.
you were basically doing voiceovers before it was famous, because I mean, that's a big thing right now, like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
people taking
yeah.
scenes and putting their
What
own
do they call
voices or
them?
whatever on it.
What
Go
do they
yeah.
ahead.
call it? Like when Dragon Ball Z does the a bridge, like a bridge and stuff like that.
Yeah, for me, it was just like these are songs I listen to every day. Like I remember one of them was like was Cannon. You know what I'm saying? A little Cannon freestyle from the dedication mixtape for Lil Wayne.
Mm,
Yep,
And it was just
right.
like
went crazy.
these are my favorite songs that ain't never gonna get music videos. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
this is the closest thing that I could it's the closest thing that I could get to do. And you know, like I said, we ain't have internet. I'm sitting in front of this computer hours at a time. Like, you know what I mean? And you know, it was keeping me entertained. Like, you know what I mean? And it wasn't even something that like I was like, oh, look what I made, you know,
Right,
showing off.
right.
It was literally just for me, you know. But yeah, nah, basically, like, you know what I'm saying? And that, you know, that really helps me because, you know, now, you know, I shoot my own content. You know, I shoot my own visuals as well. But, you know, when I look at like, you know, what I'm doing now, you know, and I look at my past, it's just kind of like, damn, like it all, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it really made me feel like I was supposed to be doing this, because
Exactly.
before I even knew what it was, or before, I was doing it literally for my pure entertainment at one point in
Right.
time. Like, not for not to be recognized, not for likes, not for nothing else other than being able to hit play on that motherfucker before I go to sleep and be like, yeah, and then go to bed.
Mm-hmm. The
That's
satisfaction.
dope.
It ain't on me, it's in or yeah, feel me?
Right.
Nah.
Type shit. But no, that's dope. That's dope. Influences wise, like when you was a kid, like what would we catch young Ivory bumping? His
So
developmental years.
we used to live on Broadway. And this was like when niggas used to steal like, cruise on Broadway for Derby. I
Oh,
used to
okay.
literally live right on 26 and Broadway. And
Oh, okay.
and at that point, like when I think of influential years of my life, like, what I'm saying, it's definitely in sections. That was like, I think, really the start of it for me, what I'm saying? I used to sit in the house and I used to watch BT all the time. So it was like, I'm in the house,
Uh,
I'm watching Big Tigger in the basement. And then after that,
mm-hmm.
it's 106 and Park. I'm seeing songs like, Take It to the House. You know what I mean? It's just like all this different music that is like, coming to my ears. And, I had and I was thinking about this the other day. I have two big cousins. They twins. They girl twins. You know what I'm saying? But they like so much more older than me. Like, I think I was in elementary school. I think they might have been like in, middle school or in high school, whatever. But
Okay.
my mama used to buy me a lot of CDs. Used to come hang out with me all the time, like, come spend out at my house, and we would literally just be up listening to music. You know what I mean? So we would listen to, like 3LW and shit like that, and you know,
Mm,
I think a lot of their music at the time, had like a big influence on me too, because it was like, you just in my mind as a kid, right? It's like I'm seeing girls in these music videos, and they, around like, to me at least, because everybody who's like old just looks grown as fuck. Like, you know what I'm saying?
right.
So it's like, you know, I'm listening to music they listening to, and it's like the music that we both like, I can tell that it's something deeper for them than what it is for me. Cause I like it just because, I hear it all the time. It's a nice song. I like the music
Right.
video, this is that and the third. There's real life behind the lyrics for them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of that kind of like when it comes to the music that I make for women, and I think a lot of that influence, comes from,
Mm.
comes also like when I was a kid, anybody that had a Lil in front of their name, was it Bow Wow, Romeo? I was heavy into them. I think, as time goes on, there was a part in my life where I was a real big Slick Rick fan.
Mm.
Lil Brother, Lil Wayne, Drake. Drake is definitely Drake is definitely like one of my biggest influences. I think when you just, you talk about music as a whole, because when you when you when you really look at it, rappers really don't have a long shelf life.
Yeah.
You do something and you do it at a peak for a very long time. You do it for a peak, and you got like maybe a couple years, and then after that, you off to doing something else. Um, I'm a big, 50 Cent was a big, one of my big influences. The Game, a Ti, you know what I mean. And I think a lot of people sleep on Ti, because Ti, he's one of those artists that had like real. They got real bangers, like, you know what I'm saying, and has made like album after album after album, and it like, what I'm saying, and I'm talking about banger after, but like, King,
And you
Paper
can play his
Trail,
album and trap music.
Urban
yeah,
Legend.
Urban
Urban
Legend. That's
Legend,
what
you
I
know
was
what
trying
I'm
to
saying?
get, Urban Legend. But they're playthroughs though. You can listen to the whole
Exactly,
thing. Like you don't skip it. You don't have to skip a song. And if you do skip a song, you're gonna miss part of the story. And the song's so cold, might as well listen to it anyways.
exactly. And it's like, and even then, like his ability to even be able to just kind of, dip in and try different things. Like, you know what I'm saying? We got Motivation and
Yep.
Freak though on the same album. Like, you know what I mean?
Hey,
And so it's
she a
just the
freak
fact it's
though.
like you know what I'm saying? So it's just like the fact that when I look at my influences early on, I like I said, I'm also a real big L.
Me too. Yeah,
He was I really liked the way he shit talked.
me
And
too.
I think when we talk about being a rapper, I think So when you talk about being a rapper, there's um rap is also a verb. So you could be good at rapping, but you cannot be a good rapper. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Like how battle rappers don't translate into making chart hits, kind of deal.
Exactly. Like, you know what I'm saying? And, we talk about my influences, people who, are like, who have been at the top of their craft. But like I said, even when it comes down to like, Michael Jackson and, Beyonce. Those are two people who I really, I really look to, and just because, like, I'm saying, it's like what they created was bigger than life. Like, you know what I mean? It was like you were almost, it was
Timeless.
like you couldn't be considered, what I'm saying, in a cool, you know, current, what I mean, if you wasn't, you'd be an oddball not listening to, the music that they was
Right. Right,
creating.
right,
You know what
right,
I'm
right,
saying? And
right.
that's been the thing that's been able to, that's been the thing that I've always been inspired by. Cause like I said, at the end of the day, this is entertainment. You know what I mean? We are here to we here to sell records. Like, you know what I mean? You can't, unless you can, be able to capture that many, like, capturing that many people, you know what I'm saying, stealing that many people's hearts. That's a real art. That's something that, that's something that is just is as special as, a lot of the other art forms out there, bro. Because sometimes, and not all the time, but sometimes, it boils down to marketing. We
Yeah, that's a
sometimes
lot of it.
sometimes we discount it. But like, even the people who, made it because of marketing, still had something that there was still some connection point. Like, you know
Right.
what I mean?
Something to sell.
Yeah, 100%.
Something to sell, story to tell, whatever.
Did any of those people you named, or maybe something in your life, made you realize that the moment you realized you wanted to rap, like, nah, this is what
Right.
I'm really gonna do?
Yeah, it was a combination. But I think the thing that kind of pushed me forward to rap for real was Chief Keef, and that was just because. So it was like I told you, when I was my mom had kicked me out at a house. You know what I'm saying? When I say kick me out, you know,
Was you
me and my
wilding or
mama,
something?
huh?
Was you wilding or something?
No, I wasn't even whining. So it was just
Ah,
like
okay.
I was really at that point where it was just like, I had graduated high school. I had been out of high school.
Ah, I got you.
I was my high school. I had been out of high school for a year, not even for a full year yet. But it was, to me, I was an adult, like, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
I felt like, I had been, I had been helping out around the house, you know what I'm saying, ever since, I had a job, you know what I mean, and I felt like, I felt like I was an adult, and my mama, still felt like I was a kid, like I still had more to learn. We just kind of bumped heads, and when we bumped heads, it was something. It was over something stupid. We bumped heads over juice and toothpaste.
That's when it's time to go.
Like, one second, I was in the house, and literally 30 minutes later, me and all my stuff was in the front yard, and I had to figure out, what I'm saying, where I was gonna take it out. But I had I had moved some of my stuff to my grandmother's house, and I was staying with some of my homies. They had just got this house over in South Louisville by Church of Dance. I had lived in South Louisville, a few different times in my life, but I was over there when they was actually on campus. That was around the time that I had first, like, really started recording myself, taking myself serious. I think, like, as I was transitioning out of high school, I was doing like little freestyles just on my phone, like, you know what I mean. And there's a couple of them I had posted, like, to Facebook, but it was just all for fun. But when they was on campus, that's when I actually started had recording myself. And so when I had moved in with them, I remember one of my homie Quez, he was there at the time, and he was like, "Ah, nigga, Ivory's here. It's time to work now." And that was like the first moment where I was like, "Damn, y'all think I could, like, you know what I'm saying? Y'all think I could kind of do this?" And I think maybe, like, a couple weeks later, you know, is like, real, like, true story. Like, I was sitting there, it was breakfast time, and I was eating ice cream, and I was watching TV, you know what I'm saying? And I was just thinking, like, damn, if I was at home, like, my mama would be bitching right now that I eat ice cream for
Mhm.
breakfast. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, damn, like, I'm really in control of my life. Like, I was like, I'm really about to, like, I was like, I'm almost like, I'm gonna be a rapper. Like, this is what I want to do. I'm saying, I remember
Mm.
I told my homies that I was living with, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be a rapper. And they was like, I thought that's what we was already doing. Like, you know what I'm saying? But it was like, nah, at that moment, it became serious for me because it was like, I am like,
I
I
can do
can do
anything
this.
I
I'm
want
in
to do.
control.
You're right.
Nobody's telling me what I can and what I can't do no more.
Mm-hmm.
Chief Keef had unlocked that, he had broke the barrier in my brain that like it wasn't a job because here it is, somebody who, looks like me, who does the same shit, not does the same. I wasn't as, on shit like he
But
was.
comparable. But
Yeah, you know what I'm
comparable,
saying? I
nonetheless.
remember he had this song, he had a song like it was called like "Don't Disrespect My Niggas," and it was like as a young run around with your homies, like that was something that I could relate to. Like seeing niggas like Chief Keef every day in my neighborhood, like you know what I'm saying. Some of those and some of them I would consider my friends, like you know what I'm saying. So it was like he had broke the mental barrier in my brain that like I could really like this is a job that people actually get, like you know what I'm saying. Like this is something that is actually attainable to you right now at this very moment. Yeah, so after that, like, that was when that's when I decided to just, just go for it.
Shout out Chief Keef.
Nah, facts.
We bumped Chief
Sh-
Keef like a mug, didn't we, boy? Pull
Shout
up.
Yeah,
out to
nah.
that bowl of ice cream.
Shout out
Hey,
to that
facts.
bold flavor that was. But next time you in a life crisis and you need to make a decision,
Get
talk
you
to
some ice
Ivory.
cream for breakfast.
He'll put you on the brand and the flavor, man. And and you
Yeah.
have to do it for breakfast. You have to complete the ritual.
Nah, real
Then
talk.
you'll realize you in control of your life and anything's possible.
Nah.
Shit. That's off the chain. That's funny. So how did that like culminate to you releasing your first project? What was it, 2001? It was in 2018, I think. But isn't that the
So
name of it?
yeah, so I actually had a project before. I had a
Okay.
few projects. I had a few projects.
Okay.
I had did a project was called like I had a friend who died of cancer. His name was Rashid. Um,
Damn.
I won't say like some of the first like raps that I had ever did was just on like we was like we was just high like you know what I'm saying rapping on just other niggas beats, you know what I'm saying. And I was the only nigga that really rapped, so they was just like playing beats, and I was like, hey, Ivy, try to rap on this. So I had did like a whole like Grand Theft Audio, nigga, give me your beat, and it was just like some shit that I had just did. I
That's
had
That's
dope.
like
dope.
a couple.
That's
I
dope.
had like a couple singles. I had a couple singles that I had made, and I put those kind of like on a demo, too. But I think my first real project, you know what I'm saying, was called like For My People, and I just really wanted to at that point, at that point I was really learning, and I was really learning, and I really wanted to capture, I was like at that point I was like a true hip hop head because I was like, all right, this is what I want to do. I got to study it all. Like I got to really submerge myself in this whole thing. I wanted to be raps, but I wanted it to just kind of just highlight blackness, like you know what I'm saying. So like just like on
Mm-hmm.
Tribe Called Quest, they had they little I for it was like it's like a voice that kind of narrated it, you know what I'm saying. So
Mm-hmm.
I took that idea, and I just wanted it to highlight blackness, not just like not just one type of blackness too, like you know what I'm saying, just like the ups and the downs of it all.
Mm.
And then after that, I had a project called Fields. Now, Fields came at like, a weird point. I think it came around the height of like Lil Yachty and Lil Uzi, like that whole little era.
Okay.
Lil Yachty, he had his first project, Lil Boat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep.
It changed my life because like I said, at that point, I was on some like kind of like hip hop purist. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to, put out real rap. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I heard Cold Like Minnesota, and I remember the first time I seen Lil Yachty, I was just like, bro, I'm not listening to this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care what he say, you know what I mean? I don't care how good the music is. I was just like, I just didn't want to hear it. And then I remember I heard Cold Like Minnesota on somebody's Snap story, and I'm like, ooh, what is that? Like, you know what I mean? So right after that, I went and looked it up, and I seen it was him, and I'm like, hey, I guess this is what we doing. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I was listening to that. I was listening to that a whole bunch, and I went to listen to like
That was a
a lot of his
good
other
spot.
music. And like from a hip hop purist standpoint, like I could tell, like I could see why somebody would won't write this song. I could see why somebody wouldn't won't like it. Like you know what I mean? Because it
Oh
was
yeah.
Right.
completely unconventional.
SoundCloud era too, right? I'm not
Yeah,
tripping,
yeah,
right?
yeah. It was like at the
Yeah,
it was
so
like right
SoundCloud,
as that was
so that's why
beginning.
I'm
You know
like,
what I
the
mean?
purists did not like the SoundCloud era at all.
And as like I said at the beginning, I was at the beginning of it, I was right there with him. You know what I mean? But I was like, damn,
Yeah,
like I'm
me too.
genuinely enjoying this music. Like, you know what I'm
Me
saying?
too.
And he's like, and he's up there. Like, you know what I mean? Like the whole world is paying attention to this kid right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like if he can get up there with red braids and make music that is like unconventionally good, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
I can make whatever type of music like I want to make, like, you know what I mean, like because
Yes,
there
sir.
because it's not like even in my even in my hip hop purist mindset, I was still listening to the Migos. Whatever came on in the club, I was listening to that. Like it wasn't like
Of course.
24/7. It's hardcore rap. It's like
Right.
I'm multi-dimensional. Like you know what I mean.
Yes,
I can
sir.
make this other music as well. Yeah, once he dropped his first project, I had loved it, and I had actually went on to, you know, first it was Lil Yachty, and then it was 21 Savage, and then it was, Lil Uzi. I had like literally went on to, listen to all of them, and that had changed my life, and I wanted to make something, close to that, to mix like what I had learned from them, and that, and then I had into like this rap purist kind of thing that I had, and I wanted to
Mhm.
marry the two, and I had this project called Fields, and that's currently still up on my SoundCloud. And
Bet.
then after that, it was 2001, and I named it
Okay.
2001 because it was like that exclamation mark on that rap kind of purist mindset. Within my catalog, there's always like hard resets. Like I think my
Mhm.
last project that I just made, my self-titled EP
Right.
Ivory, that one was also a hard reset. But that 2001 was a hard reset because it was like the 90s was that rap period, and you got that 2000s, you know what I'm saying, that kind of like is breaking it up, and we start a new era. And now it's that 2001. Like where do we go from this point forward? And that was my mindset with that one, and where, the trajectory of my career went after that.
Interesting.
Before we get too far past it, I
Yo, you
definitely had
good.
moments with when I guess you want to call it SoundCloud rap got popular. I was always like, when we was in high school and middle school, I was in a Soldier Boy before people were. But when that SoundCloud rap came out, I was like, all right, man, this shit's getting too far off the rails. And just like you, I was like, bro, I don't want to like his shit, but it'll be a song every now and then. You you don't really want people to know you listening to it.
Yeah,
So you
nah,
only
fact.
listen to it by yourself. You like, man, this motherfucker go.
Right.
And then eventually you just like, bro, all right, they make good shit. I mean, it's just different.
I
Yeah,
found some really good songs on there by some random
Right.
people too.
facts,
That's what I'm
facts.
saying. And then the other thing, what do you feel about, since you brought up Yachty, did you see his opinion on like he's rapping before and Rapper's Delight, like the song was like,
Are
man,
you
this
talking about
shit
his more
right
recent?
interviews
Yeah.
Yeah,
where he's like
I
he was
mean,
like, man, this shit's sweet.
put like this. I'm gonna play this. Like I said, I'm not gonna like I don't disagree. Like you know what I'm saying. I think that I think that, bro, like what's that nigga Bismarck? That nigga got a song called Picking Boogers, bro. Like you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean. Like it's always been, like I said, it's never been about what was said. Like it's always about how that music made you feel. And so when Rappers Delight came out, like it was it was for the time it was, like what I'm saying, it made niggas
Right.
feel like
Exactly.
it was playful. It was like I don't even know what these niggas is saying. Like what?
But
Right.
Like
then you go back and listen
Yeah.
to it, and it's like green beans, mac and cheese, and
you
Right,
know what I'm
right.
saying?
you feel me? And then you're like, hold on.
You know what I mean? Like it's like, so yeah, I mean I don't like I said, I don't disagree. Like, I think everything has its place, and I think everything has its place in history.
Right. Like,
And like I said, when it comes to music as a whole, like what I mean, it's never been about what was said. It's always been how it makes people feel. Like Michael Jackson got on the song and said, "Mama say, Mama side with Michael side." You know what I mean? And niggas felt that in their soul. Like you know
And
what I'm
they
saying?
sold
You
to
feel
this
me? So
day.
nigga
you
said the
know,
pot, jump on it, jump on it,
Right.
jump on it.
Nah, I heard what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
Like, it's just when you flat out say it,
yeah,
sometimes people ain't gonna hear you. But I'm like, there's always been room for that type of rap for the time that it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
They just saying that like it's romanticized that time that everybody was just super deep in that, like, and it's like it's not true. So as
Yeah.
that's what he's saying, like almost.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's what we
I guess.
it's
I
what we it's what we
understand.
like to remember.
Something
And
like
I think I'm gonna be, I'm a I'm gonna be candid. Like the Drake and Kendrick beef, like, you know what I'm saying? It's made me analyze like a lot of, granted, you know what I'm saying? When I talk about this and just around other people, some people just be like, damn, why do you care so much? One, I care because it's my job. Like the history of like my job or like being
Is
rewritten
affected
right now.
by
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
so it's very important for me to pay attention. But that,
exactly.
that thing just, it's that whole battle taught me a whole lot. But I think in the reference to this conversation, you know what I'm saying, it's like history is not it's not told how it was, it's told how it was remembered. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
when people talk about the Drake and Kendrick beef, they talk about the Drake and Kendrick beef, but it wasn't a Drake and Kendrick beef. It started as Drake versus the industry, you know what I'm saying? And then like Kendrick, he was the one that kind of
He's
like
right.
he stepped out into the forefront and made like he was the only person that had like hard enough hitting discs, like, you know what I'm saying, to stick. And then like, it became, and then it went into, you know what I'm saying, like Drake and Kendrick, but it was still Drake and Kendrick and Drake versus the industry all at the same time. But when people look at it, like when people go back in time and they look at it and they talk about it,
Yes.
they only speak of it as it was just them two the entire time. And it's like this nigga Drake was never just dissing Kendrick. Like, you know what I'm saying? Niggas literally made up 2 albums titled "Fuck You, Drake." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the regular and then the deluxe.
Yeah, right.
And he went, you know. So I guess to kind of went to to kind of go back what we was talking about. Like it's never, history is about what people remembered. It's not how it was. When we talk like, when you talk about, people see that when people from then see the music that we make now, you know, and they hear, that they forget about, like I said, they forget about the rappers of the lights, they forget about the Biz Marquies, they forget about, you know what I'm saying, all of the people, they forget about the Afro Mans, you know what I'm saying? They forget
Yeah, shout
about
out Afro
all of,
Man.
you know what I mean? They forget
Shout
about
out
all of
Afro
that
Man.
in the mix. Their road or rise the same lines as the music that does today.
Yeah.
It's
No,
funny you
I
bring up
agree.
Afro Man. You had to see
Hey,
what's been
I
going
was
on with
going
him.
I was gonna try to
That's
smooth over it, but
no,
yeah,
we had to. It just felt so. You've had to see what Afro Man's been going through.
the court
Hey,
case,
The court case, yeah, about
what's happening?
it's funny.
did they like?
They like the police in 2022 like went into his shit on some BS.
But then
He
ransacked it. So then he sued him
right.
for basically ransacking his crib.
Yep. But
Made
then
a
comes
song.
out, makes songs about all of them, makes
All
songs about one of the cops say, I fucked your wife. Just different shit. And the shit stuck for like that area. Like and shit stuck. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
now that cop, he don't know if that cop or he don't know if Afro Man fucked his wife. And like this other female cop, like he made fun of her and like
and
they
now
said people was
she
coming
cried
up
on
to her,
stand,
calling her like what he was saying in the songs.
and so she cried on saying all this stuff. I'm like, damn. Talk
Damn.
about the art of war, boy. Talk about
Hey, that's
hey,
crazy. Hey, that's crazy. Hey, man, look, shout out that man Afro for having so much influence. Like, you know what I'm saying? The fact
no,
that
Right,
he could,
a
the fact that
cultural
he could even
warrior.
still do it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
you know.
That's cultural
And
power right there.
it kind of backfired because people like me wouldn't even know about it, but it's
Yep.
in court now, and the lawyers for them are bringing these songs up. So people, of course,
Mhm.
are like, well, hey, let me go listen to it. And then it's
Right.
Yeah.
that. And you like, what the fuck?
Nah,
Talk
that's
about
crazy.
rewriting the rules or something, boy.
Nah,
You gotta pay
fact.
attention to him. If I'm gonna catch a case, I'm at least gonna make the lawyer fees
Right.
back.
Hey,
You going there and
That's
get me.
crazy. That's crazy. All right, so speaking of hard resets, iPod times IVRY, IVRY. You can catch them on social media at 200 underscore. So, but back to it, we finished talking about with the project 2001, which came out in 2018. For our listeners who can't see, they're probably confused a little bit, but we're not gonna worry about that. We'll fast forward to 2019. In Real Life project had dope intro. We'll get to that in a second. Songs like Stars, who I mess with, I Can Rap, I Love This Game, Myself, which I like that track a lot too. But who was that on the intro?
It was my granddad.
Okay. Dope combo. Yeah.
I think you know, as time goes on, I
Mhm.
think like as time goes on, he kind of retreats a little more to himself.
Yep.
Just because I think, just the world is moving so fast around him, and he's just kind of like, trying to be, as relaxed and live as peaceful as he can, you know what I'm saying, while he still can.
Mm.
But overall, like I say, he's still in good health. But he used to. Yeah, I used to talk to him a lot. You know what I mean? He would call me, and anytime he ever calls, anytime he used to call, and I used to. He used to just give wisdom, and I don't remember what we was talking about, but it's got to a point. I got my cousin, 422.
Shout out 422. That nigga's
He's
dope.
supposed to be releasing a project soon too. I'm
Okay.
really excited about that. It's his actual first one. I'm really excited about that.
We're gonna have to mess with the iPod.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, so we're cousins, and our grandmothers are sisters,
Okay.
so and I remember one time, his grandmother passed, and he has a version of he recorded her saying happy birthday on his on his phone. He has it, like he has her call him saying happy birthday. And my grandmother, before she passed, she called me and sung me happy birthday. And I don't know, like after she sung it, it felt like it was gonna be the last time, and it was. It was the last time. But ever since then, like, whenever, I talk to like, my mom or my dad or, my granddad, like, what I mean, if I ever can, so I try to record those conversations just to have something to, hold on to them, for, you know what I mean? And I had I had recorded that, and he, just everything he said, I think it was perfect for, where I was and where my life was. And ironically, I ended up dropping the project on his birthday. So the anniversary of that,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying, always lands on his birthday. But yeah, it was unplanned. It was actually, like I said, it was something that I just happened to stumble across and was like, yeah, I think this is how we gonna start it off.
Dope. And then also on that project, I Can Rap with
Yeah.
Sloob. I feel like we talk about Sloob like every other episode. Like I'm up and we're gonna put this nigga in a
Yeah.
chokehold and drag him on this motherfucker eventually.
Yeah.
But now, how did that come about though? How did that come
Um,
about?
So, me and trying to call him by his rap name. And I typically call him by his. I used to call him by his real name typically because we went to me, him, and Juan. We all went to middle school together. We went to No together,
Okay.
and
Okay. Yep.
before, I'm just gonna call him his name, before Dre started actually rapping.
That's cool.
He was yeah, before Sloop started rapping, he was, he was working with his brother, and he was just kind of like, and he would come over to the house, and I would be recording, and I would always, try to get him to like, rap, rap with me. And what I'm saying, sometimes he would come through, and we would freestyle, and it would just be fun. And but he was saying like anything that whenever I make something, I want to, make it with my brother first. I feel like I kind of owe it to him, them being twins at all. So I think just kind of around that time, he had already put out his music when I first had started rapping, and before he actually started rapping, and it was just something that he was just kind of like, entertaining the thought. Because around that time, he was just saying that like, he looked like a rapper, he hung around all the rappers, you know what I'm saying, but he just didn't rap, and people were kind of like, asking him should he rap. He wasn't, around that time, he wasn't making music. So I asked him, I was like, hey, you kind of finally want to do a song? I think I originally sent him Stars,
Okay. Okay. Yep.
and
I mess with that too.
he was just like, I wanted something that he's like, if we're gonna do it, I want something that, something bouncy, something I can bounce to. And I mean, me personally, like in real life, like for me, that was like, I think another one of those hard reset moments. It was like where I just kind of like fully, stepped into, entertainer, you know what I'm saying? As far as like, my music, and I felt like I was the one, felt like my music, my music got to a point now where it can, it can transcend and it can touch, all different types of people. I had did that. When he had said that, I'd already had like a lot of like, upbeat vibes. That was like, I Can Rap was literally like one of the last songs to put on there. And he was just
Okay.
like, let's try to find something, try to find something else. So I was like, all right, cool. Give me a minute. You know what I'm saying? I think I found the beat. I think I found the beat for the day was over. You know what I mean? I wrote my verse, and I sent it back to him, and you know what I'm saying? He rocked with it, and he wrote to it, and that's how it happened. We ended up shooting a music video for it. That whole
That's what I wanted to get to too. I was like,
yeah.
we got a behind the scenes, but we don't got a video. I'm
Yeah,
like,
nah. So what happened was so personally, whenever I create, I always kind of stay to myself. I don't really, which I'm not gonna lie, which has hindered me in some ways too.
right,
But I don't like a lot of moving parts. Like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like the more moving parts, the more likely something is gonna like need to be replaced. So that had a lot of moving parts. I had the videographer. I was trying to explain to him what I wanted. I had Jerron. I don't know if he's a comedian. I had him like do like a little skit. I wanted him to do like a little skit at the beginning. You know what I mean? I wanted this video to be a specific way, and my idea had got completely lost in transit. You know what I'm saying? And that had happened a lot of different times with a lot of music videos, and a lot of them kind of got scrapped. That's kind of like now where where I'm at, where I like I shoot a lot of I've been shooting a lot of stuff by myself, and just this next wave of the things that I'm doing. A lot of them be kind of like self produced with very small, small casts, especially because like when you're starting out too, it's kind of hard to get people to take things as serious as you take 'em.
right, exactly. You want something done right, do it yourself kind of deal.
Exactly. And because it's like you see the gold and what it is you're trying to do.
Right,
You see the vision.
right,
It's like, I don't fault nobody or anybody who moves, their way because I mean, at the end of the
right.
day, it's human nature.
Yeah,
Like I got my own life, you know what I'm saying? And
right.
I need to be able to benefit off the things that I'm doing to, catapult me into the future. Because there is no immediate because there is no payoff, like, you know what I mean? It's kind of harder to bring people along for that ride with you. That's kind of why, I have been, what I mean, pretty much, what I'm saying, a one-man band with a lot of things that I do. But, in a nutshell, it was too many moving parts and really nothing really stuck. But, it was like a party that night too. And that was just something
I
that,
liked it.
it was something we all talked about. I had a project, and I'm pretty sure we ended up getting to talking to that one. My project died. Somebody was dedicated to my cousin.
Yeah.
My cousin was there, and it
Okay,
was just like
okay.
kind of like one of those last
Was that, my boy, because you
Rob.
highlighted yep, Rob.
Yeah,
Yep, yep, yes,
yeah, yeah,
sir.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
So that that was that moment. Regardless of even if we didn't even though we didn't get the video, that behind the scenes was something that
right,
I would hold on to and I would look at, and I'm just and I just kind of like, damn, like why am I holding on to this? Like, you know what I'm saying? This is a moment that we all remember, and everybody always asks, "What happened to the video? What happened to the video? What happened to the video?" So, it
there you
was just
go.
something that I really wanted to, I wanted to put that out, just what I'm saying, in remembrance of it, because I think that was a moment, in real life for me, was a moment in history. When you talk about like Louisville music, I like to think it was for that too. Just we sold the release party, we sold out Z Bar, you know what I mean?
Okay.
It was a sea of people. That was the most people at that time I had ever performed in front of, and I had a goal to pack out that venue at the beginning of the year. And at the beginning of the year, like, I had no buzz. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it was, strategically how I did it. I had a plan to do it. My plan didn't go as I wanted it to, but I'm saying I still hit the goal. And, a lot of people had knew me and knew my music. And, that project was the thing that kind of cemented me in, what I'm saying, the music scene back at home, because I kind of came up during a weird time. When I first got into it, that was when Jalen Rose was, big at that time. Polaroids play. I know here recently he's been making music with, I forgot his name. I think his name's Charlie. Charlie two times.
Yeah.
First shift was going by Jeffrey Bankroll, the whole hood stock, you know what I'm saying? That was
Okay,
when I
okay.
first kinda was introduced to it, and then like I had actually made a name for myself and got pushed out on the other side once that kind of died down, and
Yeah.
Jack Harlow and the homies and all of
Right.
them rising up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dope shit. Dope project. I mess with that project. That's it. I can see why like it's your stepping out project when you talk about it in that way, or like, and it's also dope you made that as a go
Yeah,
and that came to fruition for you. Like
yeah,
that's can't be overlooked. Not only, just for that time, but also as like, foundational. Oh yeah. And
yeah.
same way with you, same way you was with that with that bowl of ice cream.
No,
As
Right,
the same as the
right.
same way he was, but it's like, oh, okay, I can really do this. It's my, next level. Like, oh, I can really do this. I can, what I'm saying.
yeah,
Not only can I see it, I can achieve it. Now
yeah.
it's just, you feel me? So that's dope. That's dope you felt that way, and it's dope it turned out that way. So
Did
before we
did
get
it
to
feel surreal? Like,
No,
right,
it
right, right.
did.
you know what I mean?
It did. It was like I said, it was one of them. I think it was. Yeah, I mean, shit, it did. It felt super surreal. Like I think just kind of being recognized. Like at that point for me, it was undeniable. It was like I'm a rapper. I had my family there. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, my cousin Rob, who was there, he passed away. That was like, a lot of our family like remember that was like one of the last times like they really got to like, spend with them and, be there. So it was like, it's a real monumental, it's a real monumental moment. Like, you know what I mean? It was, and it was like, me and, like, my homegirl Vashti, Mike.
Hold on. Vashti, VASHT.
Mhm. Yeah, that's my homie.
We follow each other on TikTok, I think. Yeah, dope.
Yeah, she was my I mean, she's still around. She's still around. She still helps out. At that time she was like, really helping manage me and, stuff at that time. And we had
Oh,
built,
okay.
it's just
Okay.
like everything that we had built at that point, we built it up. It was one of those moments where everybody had to take notice. Like, you know what I mean? I was
Yeah,
no
yeah.
longer just, what I'm saying, little homie on the scene no more.
We're not your little niggas. Like, for real. All that big homie stuff, that's for little niggas. Little
Right,
I had
right.
actually made a name for myself, and it was, it was based on the music that I made. Like, you know what I mean? Like, of course,
Mhm.
like the moves and everything that went behind it too. You know what I mean? Helped. The marketing behind it helped, but it was really like, no, this is actually good music as well.
It all culminated. It all
Yeah, for sure.
culminated. Dope. We was talking about your cousin 422 earlier.
Hmm.
I enjoy y'all's connection that y'all got on. I enjoy your shit. I love the
Yeah,
way y'all play off each other, not even just bars, but vocally. Y'all always pick dope beats. You feel me? Like, just
yeah,
shit like that. Y'all not afraid to go hard. You said that's your cousin, that's your people's. And then I think the following year, y'all come out with 4200.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was he. Like I said, he's still like this project he's getting ready to release is gonna be his first, his actual first full length project. But that one was just kind of like, a lot of people had liked him on my project. I also kind of wanted to, get more into, like I said, I had, at that point in real life, I had stepped into, just kind of the entertainment mode. So I wanted to experiment more on that side, like, what I'm saying, with
Mhm.
melody and things like
Yep.
that. And that was where, he shined at, in contrary, he wanted to, prove that like, nigga, I actually got bars. And so
Okay.
it was one of those things where we something that we kind of we did together. We had, like I said, always something, but we had a couple different music videos for that. We had shot a music video for TMU, and man, it was literally one of the most
Yeah.
magical moments ever. What happened was we was like, I remember one time we were at this one scene, we was like in front of this store and we shooting a music video and we rapping our lyrics, and then this dude on a moped, like not a moped, a dirt bike comes like riding around. And nigga 422, he was like, man, he's like, hey man, you trying to stunt? So dude like hops into the video and he's like riding circles around us and doing tricks and shit, bruh. And it was like hard. And like, you know what I'm saying? It was literally like, bruh, that video would have been one of the greatest videos ever, but the videographer had deleted all the footage. I don't know how that even
Mm.
happened, but but
One of the
I was supposed
greatest
to
would
get
have beens in history.
Yeah, but it kind of it would have but that for both of us that project was it was I think it was special for both of us. I like the energy that I like the energy that we had. He was still just kind of getting into rapping because at that point he only made a handful of songs at that point. Like he was still fairly new to rapping. Yeah, and it was just I think it was the perfect way for both of us to showcase who we were and our talents. You know what I'm saying on
Yeah,
together.
yeah. No, it's dope. It's a dope project. Trying to
Did
think specific.
did
Go ahead, Rashad.
would you say you kind of like for your circle? Did you kind of
Mm.
pioneer like rapping? You know what I mean? Like first one
I
to
mean,
really step out and be like, "Hey, I'm about to do this."
yeah, 100%. Like I've always seen myself as like, a beacon of light. And I feel like, God has given me all of these, talents and abilities to, to not to not just showcase but also highlight others. Anybody who I've ever worked with, long term, I've always wanted to see them, what I'm saying, succeed and grow and, expand, whether it's with me or without me, 100%. Like, I think even when it came to 4200 players, if I was on the songs that I was on, the songs that you hear my voice first was the beats that I picked. So if you hear me rap first, I pick those beats. And if you hear Montre rap first, then he picked those. Like you know what I'm saying? And I've always tried to, y- and typically whenever I put somebody on one of my songs, like I always try to make the song around them. Like whether, you're an artist, who I have no, you know what I'm saying, actual connection with, you know what I mean, or whatever. I'm always out to kind of highlight the other person, and I try to make a them like song featuring me.
I can tell that you do that because that's
That's
in my
dope.
notes. He's a good feature artist, but he's also an effective one.
Yeah,
Like consistently through his catalog. That's just so keep going. But that's just one thing I noticed too.
yeah. So you know what I'm saying, but so yeah, for the most part, I've always tried to highlight everybody else. Like and I think that, one, like I said, one that I think, that's what God put me here to do, to not only, showcase my talents, but to highlight others. And then I also think, that makes my songwriting ability stronger. Like, you know what I mean? To be able to, you know,
Yeah.
be able to, step outside of myself, you know what I'm saying? And make something that, that isn't me. Like, you know what I mean? And something where I can highlight somebody else, but also still like, carry my own weight. Like,
Right,
Yep.
so
right.
for sure.
Um,
How did you come up with your flow? Like, was it naturally and since you're like almost pioneering for, the
that
people
is
around you?
true.
Not putting anybody else down or whatever, but like what are you bouncing off of it? Are you inspired
Right.
by an artist or was it just naturally like you started rapping like that?
Right, because you pioneering, you don't really have a big like, I don't hear, like, a big homie, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you are the big homie kinda deal, and you did like, from you can hear his flow I mean, I haven't gone back necessarily and listened to things before 2001, but I feel like he's always kinda, like, had that flow,
Yeah.
so
I mean, for me, so for me, I think it was just something that I've always had. You know what I mean? The creativity is just the combination. Like when it comes to creativity and style and shit like that, it really just comes like it. It comes from the combination of things that you pull from other artists. Like you know what I'm saying? Like
there you
nothing
go.
is new, but the combination that
Mm,
is together is new. I mean, this shit is just like if I was cooking.
Yeah.
And
that's a
like
dope
these
way to
ingredients,
explain it.
these ingredients ain't new. They've been around forever. You can find these ingredients and everything else, but this combination of ingredients, you know what I'm saying, gives you this specific dish. For as long as I can remember, for as long as I can remember, because on the spectrum of where I listen to music, melody has always been, on the higher up.
Right,
I've always put that, before everything. Whenever I rap, I feel I find my melody, the voice is an instrument. So I find the melody within my instrument first before I even, lay down the words. And I always try to, you know, fit the words in the melody. Granted, there's some songs where it's like I can't even tell you what I said because the word that I use is not even a real word. Sometimes it's just a sound, like you know what I mean? But is because like I can't, you know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to like that melody, that flow, you know what I mean? It's more important than a word. You know what I mean? It's no, as long as I can say it in a way that don't stick out to you. You know what I mean? Even if it does stick out to you, that'll just make you put your ear a little close to the song and listen to everything else I'm saying just a little more. But for as long as I can remember, before I've even recorded music, that was the melody, the flow has always stuck out to me. So I've always put that above everything else when it comes to song.
So you like one of them like da 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 da, and then he comes back and he's like,
Fill it in.
"Something about my butter." Da-da. You feel me? Like
You
one
know
of
what I'm
them
saying?
kind of
Yeah.
deal. Like the
It's
words start coming like as the flow keeps being alchemized type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like the
exactly.
words fall in place. That's
Yeah,
dope.
it's like I hear that, it's like once I lay that like, what I'm saying, I hear the beat, I lay the melody down, like not lay the melody down, but it's like I hear the melody in my head. I kind of go all the way through with it and
Yep.
then like, and I immediately try to feel it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I try to feel it with the words. Like when I like it's like when I made it, when I heard that sound in my head, what word sounds like this? Sometimes, to the
Exactly.
point sometimes I build the lyric backwards. Like, you know what I mean? I might start with the rhyming word and then create the sentence, before it. You know what I'm saying? Vice versa.
Exactamente.
Yeah, that melody is always, at the forefront of my right.
Definitely. And like we said, we gotta do our shameless plug. ODD, we here with IVRY, you feel me? Mr. at 200 under 200. Don't listen to my slang. Underscore. Definitely I enjoy your shit with 422 for sure. Songs like 89, Amazing, and TMU, like you said. And as we transfer over, I don't know where is whatchamacallit a single? What song did I have on there that y'all have together?
Huh?
Yes, bro.
Yeah,
And Adult
that was a single.
Swim. And
Yeah,
Adult Swim. That's
that was
fine.
a single that came out before. It came out before in real life. So before in real
Yeah,
life,
yeah,
it was
yeah.
like
There we go.
it was a handful of singles that I had dropped, and that was our first ever song together. Like, you know what I mean?
It makes sense why y'all kept going because that motherfucker hits. That hits.
Yeah,
That's definitely like timeless in the catalog kind of deal. Like I can
I
see
appreciate that for
that
real.
was dope. As we fast forward to I guess 2021 because we're after 4200. You got two projects, Ego and Die. Isn't
Got
it Ego
somebody.
as well? Yeah, and Die Somebody. Which one
Mhm.
came out first?
Got somebody came out first, and then
Okay,
Ego.
okay.
Yeah, and like I said, right after kind of like my cousin died, like, you know what I mean. And
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, I think that was the point. Like at that point, that was kind of like when I realized none of this is actually like guaranteed. Like, you know what I mean? Like I never seen a world like my cousin was like supportive. Like he was literally one of those people that was like always asked me, you know, do you need something? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
if there's
one of
any
the
way that I can help, like, let me know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was in tune with, if I was shooting a music video, like anything that I was doing, any song, like, he was like, he was really there. He was really in tune. He was like consistently like, you know, what can I do to help? Like, how can I help? Like, I remember when I had the show, you know what I'm saying, to roll out in real life, like, he was one of the main people helping me promote it. Like, you know what I mean?
okay.
You know what I'm saying? I think for me there wasn't a world where he wasn't like a part of what I was doing.
Right.
I mean, there was no world where he didn't like have, success as I had success. Like, you know what I mean? And, I think at
Mhm.
that point, like, life just seemed real fragile to me. That was the goal. Like, you know what I'm saying, was to, die as somebody. And, I didn't, I think at the first time I was like fearful of not like reaching that. Like, you know what I mean? So it just kind of like it lit a fire underneath me. Like, I have to like really give this, you know what I'm saying, 200%. Like, you know what I mean? I have to actually, like, whatever I thought was going hard before, I got to kick it up,
Yep.
way more than what I was.
That's a dope start. Like, I think you do a good job of getting your projects kickstarted off where you go on a run for a little bit. I don't know if it's a little TI in you or not, but you know what I'm saying? But like Judge Me, Counterfeit, and Love Me, also enjoyed Backside Freestyle, 99.7 FM. Those are also dope songs on there. But, you talk about being melodic. We get to that project. It seems like because of, I guess, where you're at in life, it's like you're juggling theme wise, maybe. It's just me, as a listener, juggling love, meaning, and existence.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Looking back on it, are those just things that you do as an artist that make Ivory when it comes to the subject matter?
I think a little bit of both. When I look at my life as a whole, I think the pursuit of love has always been at the forefront, you know?
Okay.
Also, I think it's also always been at the forefront of everybody else's as well. Whenever I look at like, some of these songs, some of the biggest songs that's been ever written, these songs that, we all
Yes.
gravitate towards, they all, revolve around love. Like,
Generally.
you
Yes,
know,
they do.
no matter who you are, from the time you are brought into this earth to the time you leave it, you're going to experience love in some way, shape, or form 1,000 times. Like, you know what I mean? Minimal. So, but definitely at that time, that was something that, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I guess though that whole thing is like all of those things are definitely something that that are like, reoccurring in my life.
Right.
I'm always asking myself, like, who am I? Where am I? I'm a very introspective person. I always try to put that inside music. You know what I mean? But like, at that time, like those were some things that I was, really juggling heavy.
But that project it just seemed like a project allowed you to reach the depths of it, maybe that the other projects
Yeah,
just maybe didn't
100.
stretch you. And it's dope though when you look at it in retrospect because you coming off flow heavy, some hard with 422, something like that, and then you
Mhm,
go into something that's very interesting. Like it's as a listener, that takes me on a story and it helps me learn more about average or something like that. Like looking back at it, it makes for a dope transition in the catalog too. It doesn't, you know, R.I.P. Rob. I'm not saying that, you know what I'm saying,
mhm.
but
Nah, it
Yeah,
yeah,
really it really feels Ti-ish. Like, yo,
I appreciate that.
just I didn't even think about that till y'all was talking about it, but like just think about
he
his
does that.
different albums. Like,
His different projects, and then like he does that definitely on Ivory. Like depending on
it
the
like
listener, I feel like you can go 6 to 10. You feel me?
Mhm.
Just depending on who you are, type shit.
Yeah,
it just feels like you'd be like, okay, I did that. I need to do this now. You know what I mean? I ain't touched
And
on
then
this.
his hard reset type shit.
Right.
yeah,
Or
What
his
he's talking about.
ability to stretch, like he was talking about with
yeah.
oh, she a
Nah, for
freak
sure.
though.
Hey,
That
it's
motherfucker hits. That still
and
hits.
I ain't gonna lie, it does. That's literally one of my favorite songs on the album.
Me
Like, you know what I
too.
mean?
I was a
For real.
kid. I was like, I don't know nothing about a freak, but I'm
But
still,
hey,
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 when I do, no, it's fine.
but yeah, nah, I appreciate it. For real, for real.
And then how do we transition to ego? Because you finished the year with ego.
So for me, I was at a point where I wanted to strip myself of my ego and make music, that was a lot just kind of more softer, you know what I mean? And it backfired. And it was like trying to like suppress, you know what I'm saying, my ego. I found myself, just kind of like, I found myself kind of diving into it head first. Around that time, like Mike, my DJ out here, he was DJing the vibes, like you know what I'm
Shout
saying.
out DJ out here. Yes, sir.
So I was in vibes every weekend with him. You know what I mean. We was just kind of like, we was kind of having a ball, like you know what I mean. And I think in the midst of trying to do that, like in the midst of trying to like release my ego, everything just kind of happened, the opposite way. Like the song 6:55 a.m. I had I had freestyle that entire thing. I just kind of like I like punch rapped it or whatever, but
Yeah.
like
Okay.
I sat in front of my computer. Mike was getting ready to come through. What I heard was getting ready to come through. I was it was literally 6:55 p.m. and I'm like I'm just gonna try to record a song for a year. Shit, I mean, AM just sounded better. It was, literally, I was literally using the energy, you know what I'm saying? The energy from just kind of like, saying being in the club and just being out and, just all of that from around that time. That was probably like one of my most fun projects just because of I think at that point, I was just, and I mean, I always create freely. I don't want to get that part confused because, I feel like in order for my music to be the way it does, and in order to create anything,
You have to have a certain level of freedom to it. But I
yeah,
understand what you're saying as an artist, though. It's like, but there's
yeah,
also a certain level of freedom I allow myself
you know what I'm
to
saying?
have. Yep. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So, but that one was, I just kind of allowed myself to say, feel,
Hmm.
do, whatever whatever I wanted to, whenever I wanted to say, whatever I wanted to do, whatever beats I wanted to choose, I felt like some of the beats that I chose on there, they were fun nevertheless, but, I could, I could, I felt like they were, some of them were a little unconventional. I could see where somebody didn't like, said beat or, said, flow that I used, I could see why they wouldn't like, you know what I mean? But I just allowed my ego to, just kind of take over and just be. I think that was the most rapper moment that I've had within
Okay.
in my career alone, at least. Other than that, it would be the 4200. Yeah, I think that was the moment where I just kind of like, you know, it was like 4200, but on my own, I
Right, right,
guess.
right. I know.
Yeah,
I understand what you're saying from that standpoint.
yeah.
Dope nonetheless. I like the way, like, if I'm a listener, I can travel looking back on it. Like, you're the perfect person for interviews like this because now as a listener, you can be like, okay, so he's going through this. Oh, he bounced back his way. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is his sound on this, his sound on this. Like, you give us something different. Like, you can start to have like a different perspective on it from that, where it's like it makes
Hmm.
more sense, like all together. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, kind
Yeah,
of deal. But then you also understand the ride you're being taken on. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Kind of deal. So, nah, it's dope. I enjoy songs like Ballin' featuring Young Trapper, What You Mean, and Who Run It.
Mhm.
I thought Who Run It was dope. I thought that
I
was
appreciate
dope. I thought that one
I
was dope.
appreciate that. Yeah, no, Who Run It
That's
was Who Run It was one of my favorite tracks on there. That they had a sample from Sounds of Blackness, one of my favorite groups ever.
oh, okay. I was wondering what that sample was. Sounds of Blackness.
Believe it or not, Young Trapper is also me and 422's cousin. So
It's a
I try to,
family affair.
yeah, on that project. On that project, I wanted to get. I try to get 422,
I was wondering.
Young Trap on there, and we got another Montre's 422's brother. His name's Akari Kiyoshi. I try to get him on there too. I couldn't get either one of them to turn their verses in on time, but 422 he was originally on OK. Yeah.
Interesting. Fun
He
fact
had
to
a
know.
he had the second verse, and I couldn't get him, turn it in time. Well, granted, he actually did turn it. He actually sent his verse to me, but it got lost in my email. I didn't see it. I think it went to my junk, and we had seen it like way after. But he had the second verse on OK, but I wanted to hurry up and just
Get it
finish it,
done.
and so I went back and rewrote another verse. But yeah, he was originally on that.
Come on, 422. We've already lost a video. Now we've lost a song.
Yeah.
Speaking of dope songs, though, bouncing off that, Prodigy the Kid, Rashad.
Yep, I found it. I
Bro,
seen it. I heard it. I was like,
something
Prodigy
did
and
that
him?
did that you dig?
I
So I
had
was
to
like
click it.
Yeah.
I
I
had to
was
click it.
like, bro, me too. I saw it. I was like, what is him and Prodigy doing
What's it
together?
called?
I'm
To the
like,
max?
to the
Yeah,
max.
to the max.
I'm like, what is him and Prodigy doing together? And I'm like,
Yeah.
Right.
this nigga know everybody.
Yeah, nah, it's crazy. He hit me with that like right as I was getting ready to move to LA. I think it was like literally like, you know, a few months before I left. He, it's funny because I think that's the only song of mine I think I don't cuss in. Like when he
Mm.
sent it to me, he was like, hey, he was like,
Hey,
Don't cuss.
don't
I want you
cuss,
on this.
don't
Don't
cuss,
cuss. I
don't
already
cuss.
know.
That's how Prodigy is. Yes, sir. Shout out
He was
Prodigy,
like,
man.
"Hey man, I want you on." He was like, "I want you on this." He was like, "But he was like, you can't cuss." He was like, "I don't know if that'll be hard for you or not." But I'm like, man, I could do it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I cuss because I want to, not because I have to.
Right,
Like,
right,
you know
right,
what I
right.
mean? So, but yeah, nah, it's definitely definitely one of my favorite features that I think that I've done outside of myself, and one that I haven't really like, cultivated either, because I think a lot of times you know, whenever whenever I do music with other artists, sometimes it's always kind of like, a lot of rarely do people come with me with a complete idea. They kind of just like, hey, I want like let's make something. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And they never like kind of follow through,
Right.
follow up. I'm just
Right.
like, all right, I'm a figure it out. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
I kind of, but that one for sure was like I said. One day, he already had it all baked, and I'm like, and I never heard him rap like that either. So I was like, all right, like, hell yeah, I'm fucking with this.
Bro, we getting Prodigy on. I've been hearing too many
For
stories
sure.
about bro.
He gives us
And
love too, though.
he does give us love. And since he's performing March 9th, I want to try to get him on before then. Maybe if we
Yeah,
can get June Dwayne and then maybe him. That would be pretty
mm.
dope.
Prodigy's a good dude.
That's what
To me,
everybody
like
said.
definitely one of the more, genuine rap artists and genuine artists that I've met, as a whole. A lot of times when you're dealing with, other artists, but it's a lot of ego involved.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And then I'm not bigger than it. There's sometimes I feel guilty of it.
Yeah.
In a space where we all feel like we all know what's best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Prodigy, like I say, he's a solid, genuine dude. Do it, do.
That's what's up. Shout out Prodigy,
Shout out
man. Shout out
Prodigy.
Prodigy. You made our shout outs for the episode, man. Yeah, no. We'll transition to LA. Now, I saw one of your vlogs. You was talking about Bones and this and that. He's one of the dudes. You feel me? So
Yeah.
so what motivated you? How did that go? And how do you feel afterwards?
So my LA story is wicked. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's actually a wild story. I was working at the post office at the time, and I'm gonna try to